The positive pregnancy test trembled in my hand as I confronted Ethan in our bedroom. "How could you?" My voice cracked, a mixture of anger and disbelief. Ethan's eyes widened, guilt flashing across his face. "I can explain," he began, but his words faltered under my piercing gaze. "Explain what? That this child isn't yours?" I threw the test at him, watching it bounce off his chest and clatter to the floor. "After everything we've been through, all the years of trying, and now this?" He reached for me, but I recoiled from his touch. "Paige, please, it's not what you think." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Not what I think. Your reaction says it all, Ethan. You know this baby can't possibly be yours." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, desperation etched on his features. "I made a mistake, okay? But we can work through this. We've always wanted a family." "A family built on lies and betrayal?" I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. "I've given you everything, Ethan. My love, my trust, my body, and this is how you repay me?" He stepped closer, his voice pleading. "It was a moment of weakness. It meant nothing. You're the one I love, the one I want to spend my life with." I held up a hand, stopping him in his tracks. Don't you dare try to justify what you've done. You've shattered everything we had, everything I thought we were building together." Ethan's shoulders slumped, the weight of his actions crashing down on him. "What do you want me to do, Paige? Tell me how to fix this." I turned away, unable to look at him any longer. "There is no fixing this. You've made your choice, and now I have to make mine." "What does that mean?" Fear laced his words. I faced him again, my resolve hardening. "It means I'm done, Ethan. Done with the lies, the betrayal, the constant disappointment. I deserve better than this, and so does this child." He reached for me again, panic in his eyes. "Paige, don't do this. We can work it out. We can be a family." I stepped back, my heart breaking even as I spoke the words. "We already were a family, Ethan, but you destroyed that the moment you chose to be unfaithful. Now you have to live with the consequences." I walked to the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. "I'll be staying with my sister. Don't try to contact me. I need time to process all of this, to figure out what comes next." "Paige, please." Ethan's broken plea followed me as I walked out, tears streaming down my face. As I drove away from the home we had shared, the life we had built, I placed a hand on my still flat stomach. "It's just you and me now, little one," I whispered. "And I promise I will do whatever it takes to give you the love and stability you deserve, even if it means doing it on my own." The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was crystal clear. I would not let Ethan's betrayal define me or my child. We would rise above this, stronger and more determined than ever. And someday, somehow, I would make him pay for the trust he had so carelessly shattered. The memories of our once happy marriage haunted me as I sat in my sister's guest room, the divorce papers spread out before me. It seemed like a lifetime ago when Ethan and I exchanged vows, our eyes filled with love and hope for the future. But the cracks started to show as the years went by, each negative pregnancy test chipping away at our bond. Ethan grew distant, burying himself in work and staying out late. I tried to be understanding, to support him through the disappointment, but little did I know he was seeking comfort in someone else's arms. It all came to a head that fateful night when I decided to surprise him at the office. I walked in, a smile on my face, only to find him entangled with his coworker, Amber. The sight of their bodies intertwined, her hands in his hair, his lips on her neck, shattered me to the core. "Ethan?" My voice was barely a whisper, but it was enough to break them apart. He stumbled back, hastily buttoning his shirt. "Paige, what are you doing here?" Amber smirked, her eyes filled with malice. "Isn't it obvious? He's with me now. Guess you couldn't give him what he needed." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun around me as I tried to process the betrayal before my eyes. "How long?" I managed to choke out. Ethan wouldn't meet my gaze. "Paige, it's not what it looks like." "Don't lie to me," I screamed, anger overtaking the shock. "How long have you been cheating on me with this homewrecker?" Amber laughed, a cruel sound that echoed in the room. "Homewrecker? Please. I'm giving him what you couldn't. A real woman, not some defective excuse for a wife." Her words cut deeper than any knife, playing on my deepest insecurities. I lunged at her, ready to claw her smug face, but Ethan held me back. "Enough," he shouted, his grip tight on my arms. "Paige, let's go home. We can talk about this." I wrenched myself free, disgust and rage coursing through me. Home? I have no home with you. Not anymore. You've made your choice, Ethan. Now live with it. I turned on my heel and stormed out, tears blurring my vision as I drove to my sister's place. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a fierce hug. "What happened?" she asked, leading me to the couch. The whole sordid story poured out of me, each word a knife to my already bleeding heart. My sister listened, her face a mask of fury and sympathy. "That bastard?" she seethed. "And that bitch he's been screwing. They'll pay for this, Paige. We'll make them pay." I nodded, a plan already forming in my mind. I would give Ethan a taste of his own medicine, make him feel the same pain and betrayal he had inflicted on me. The next day, I made an appointment at the fertility clinic. If Ethan couldn't give me the child I longed for, I would find another way. And when the time was right, I would make him believe the baby was his, only to rip that joy away when he least expected it. As I signed the divorce papers, a grim smile played on my lips. Ethan had no idea what was coming, no clue of the depths of my revenge. He had shattered my trust, my dreams, my very soul. Now it was my turn to shatter his world, piece by painful piece. I placed a hand on my stomach, imagining the life growing inside me. "You'll be my ultimate revenge, little one," I whispered. "The key to making your father pay for every lie, every betrayal, and when the truth comes out, he'll wish he never crossed me." The divorce proceedings were a blur of paperwork and heated arguments. Ethan fought me every step of the way, trying to convince me to give him another chance. But I stood my ground. I refused to be a doormat, to let him trample over my heart and dignity any longer. Behind closed doors, I set my revenge plan into motion. I underwent the artificial insemination procedure, my heart racing as I watched the doctor inject the donor sperm into my uterus. It was a strange feeling, knowing that I was creating a life without Ethan, but also a thrilling one. This child be mine and mine alone, a symbol of my strength and resilience. As the weeks passed, my belly began to swell with the growing life inside me. I kept the pregnancy hidden from Ethan, wanting to wait for the perfect moment to reveal my secret weapon. He continued to plead with me, promising to change to be a better husband, but his words rang hollow. I had seen his true colors, and there was no going back. The day of the final divorce hearing arrived, and I walked into the courtroom with my head held high. Ethan sat across from me, his eyes red-rimmed and desperate. His lawyer droned on about asset division and alimony, but I barely listened. I had a far more important announcement to make. As the judge prepared to finalize the divorce, I stood up, my hand resting on my rounded stomach. "Your Honor, there's something you should know before you sign those papers." Ethan's head snapped up, his eyes widening as he took in my obvious condition. "Paige, what's going on?" I smiled, a cold, triumphant thing. "I'm pregnant, Ethan, and before you get any ideas, let me make one thing clear. This child is yours." The courtroom erupted into chaos, Ethan's lawyer sputtering objections while my own counsel tried to restore order. The judge banged his gavel, calling for silence. "Miss Miller, are you certain of this child's paternity?" he asked, his brow furrowed. I nodded, lying through my teeth. "Absolutely, Your Honor. I would never deceive the court or my husband about something so important." Ethan's face was a mixture of shock, joy, and confusion. "Paige, why didn't you tell me? This changes everything." I leveled him with a cold stare. "Does it, Ethan? Does a baby magically erase all the pain and betrayal you've put me through? I wanted you to know what it feels like to have your world turned upside down, to have something you desperately want dangled in front of you, only to be snatched away." His eyes narrowed, suspicion creeping in. "What are you saying, Paige?" I smiled again, a shark scenting blood in the water. "I'm saying that you may be this child's father, but you will never be a part of our lives. I won't let you hurt us the way you hurt me. This baby is mine and mine alone." Ethan's face crumpled, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You can't do this, Paige. That's my child, too. I have rights." I leaned forward, my voice a venomous whisper. "You lost all rights the moment you chose to betray me. Now you get to watch from the sidelines as I raise this child, knowing that you'll never be the father you so desperately want to be. That's your punishment, Ethan. That's my revenge." The judge cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the drama unfolding before him. "In light of this new development, I'll be granting the divorce, but with a provision for child support and visitation to be determined at a later date. Court is adjourned. I walked out of the courthouse, my head high and my heart singing with vicious joy. Ethan's anguished cries echoed behind me, a symphony of pain and regret. He had no idea that the child wasn't really his, that I had played him for a fool. And when the truth finally came out, it would destroy him all over again. Revenge, it turned out, was a dish best served in the form of a baby bump and a web of lies. The months flew by in a haze of doctor's appointments and prenatal classes. As my due date approached, I found myself increasingly anxious, not just about the impending birth, but about the web of lies I had spun. Every kick, every flutter in my womb served as a reminder of the deception I had set in motion. Ethan, true to form, had tried to insert himself into the pregnancy at every turn. He showed up at my doorstep with bouquets of flowers and teddy bears, begging to be a part of the baby's life. I rebuffed him at every turn, taking perverse pleasure in watching him squirm. The day I went into labor, I was at the grocery store when the first contraction hit. I doubled over, clutching my belly as pain rippled through me. The store manager called an ambulance, and I was rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding with equal parts fear and anticipation. As I lay in the delivery room, sweat beading on my forehead and my teeth clenched against the agony, I heard a commotion outside. Ethan's voice raised in anger, demanding to be let in. The nurses tried to block his path, but he pushed past them, bursting into the room just as another contraction tore through me. "Paige," he cried, rushing to my bedside. "I'm here, baby. I'm here." I glared at him through the pain, my words coming out in a hiss. "I don't want you here, Ethan. Get out!" He shook his head, his eyes wild. "No way. That's my daughter you're bringing into the world. I have every right to be here." I opened my mouth to argue, but another contraction stole my breath away. The doctor urged me to push, and I bore down, screaming as I felt the baby crown. With one final Herculean effort, I felt her slip from my body, her cries filling the room. The nurses placed her on my chest, a squalling, perfect bundle of fury. I looked down at her, tears streaming down my face as I took in every tiny feature. She was mine, all mine, and nothing could take that away from me. Ethan hovered nearby, his eyes wide with wonder. "She's beautiful, Paige, just like her mother." I shot him a venomous look. "Don't pretend like you had anything to do with this, Ethan. She's mine, and mine alone." He recoiled as if I had slapped him. "How can you say that? I'm her father, Paige. I deserve to be a part of her life." I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "You deserve nothing, Ethan. You gave up any right to be a father the moment you betrayed me. This child is my flesh and blood, not yours, and I'll make sure she knows exactly what kind of man her so-called father really is." Ethan's face crumpled, tears spilling down his cheeks. "Paige, please, don't do this. I know I messed up, but I want to make it right. I want to be there for you and our daughter." I shook my head, my resolve hardening. "It's too late, Ethan. You had your chance, and you blew it. Now, get out of my sight before I call security." He hesitated for a moment, his eyes flicking between me and the baby. Then, with a choked sob, he turned and fled the room, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. I looked down at my daughter, a fierce, protective love surging through me. "It's just you and me now, Ella," I whispered, brushing a finger over her downy cheek. "And I promise I'll never let anyone hurt you the way your father hurt me." As I held her close, breathing in her sweet, newborn scent, I felt a flicker of doubt. How long could I keep up this charade? How long before the truth came out and destroyed everything I had built? But then I remembered Ethan's betrayal, the way he had shattered my heart and my trust. And I knew, with a cold, unwavering certainty, that I would do whatever it took to make him pay, even if it meant living a lie for the rest of my life. As Ella grew, so did my love for her. She was the light of my life, the one thing that kept me going through the long, lonely nights and the endless court battles with Ethan. He fought me tooth and nail for custody, insisting that he had a right to be a part of her life. But I held firm. I would not let him corrupt her the way he had corrupted our marriage. My new boyfriend, Greg, was a godsend during those early years. He stepped into the role of father figure without hesitation, showering Ella with love and attention. She adored him, toddling after him on chubby legs and giggling at his silly faces. It was a bittersweet sight, knowing that she would never have that kind of bond with her biological father. Ethan, for his part, grew more and more suspicious as time went on. He would show up unannounced at my house, demanding to see Ella and questioning why she didn't look more like him. I brushed off his concerns, insisting that she took after my side of the family, but I could see the doubt growing in his eyes. Things came to a head on Ella's 4th birthday. We had a small party at the park, just family and a few close friends. Greg and I had just finished singing "Happy Birthday" when Ethan stormed up, his face twisted with rage. "What the hell is going on here?" he demanded, his eyes flicking between me and Greg. Why wasn't I invited to my own daughter's birthday party? I stepped in front of Ella, shielding her from his anger. "You know why, Ethan. We have a custody agreement. You get her every other weekend, not on her birthday." He sneered, his eyes cold. "Custody agreement, please. We both know that's a joke. I'm her father, Paige. I have a right to be here." Greg stepped forward, his jaw clenched. "Back off, man. You're upsetting Ella." Ethan rounded on him, his fists clenched. "Stay out of this, asshole. This is between me and my wife." "Ex-wife," I corrected, my voice like ice, "and Greg is more of a father to Ella than you ever were." Ethan's face went white with rage. "Is that what this is about? You're trying to replace me with this loser?" I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Replace you? Ethan, you replaced yourself the moment you cheated on me. Greg is twice the man you'll ever be." He took a step forward, his eyes blazing. "You bitch. You think you can just cut me out of my daughter's life? I won't let you." I stood my ground, my heart pounding. "You don't have a choice, Ethan. Ella is mine, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect her from you." He opened his mouth to argue, but was cut off by a new voice. "Ethan, darling, what's taking so long?" I turned to see Amber sauntering up, a smirk on her heavily made-up face. She wrapped her arms around Ethan's waist, pressing herself against him like a cat in heat. "Is this the birthday girl?" she cooed, her eyes flicking to Ella. "My, she doesn't look a thing like you, does she?" I saw red, my vision tunneling. "Get away from my daughter, you home-wrecking whore." Amber just laughed, her eyes glinting with malice. Temper, Paige. Is that any way to talk to your child's future stepmother?" I lunged at her, ready to claw her eyes out, but Greg held me back. "She's not worth it, Paige. Let's just get Ella out of here." I took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to calm myself. He was right. Ella was the only thing that mattered now. I scooped her up, holding her close as I turned to leave. "This isn't over, Ethan. I won't let you or your little slut destroy my family." As we walked away, I heard Amber's mocking laughter ringing in my ears. "Oh, honey, we've only just begun." The day the DNA results arrived, I was a mess of nerves. I had known this moment was coming, had played it out in my head 1,000 times, but nothing could have prepared me for the reality of it. I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, when I heard the front door slam. Ethan stormed in, his face a mask of fury, waving a piece of paper in his hand. "You lying bitch," he snarled, slamming the paper down on the counter. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I set down the knife, my heart pounding. "Knew what, Ethan?" He jabbed a finger at the paper, his eyes wild. "The DNA test, Paige. Ella isn't mine. You've been lying to me this whole time." I felt a rush of fear, followed by a strange sense of calm. The truth was out. There was no going back now. "I never lied, Ethan. I told you she was yours, and as far as I'm concerned, she is." He let out a bark of laughter, harsh and bitter. "Are you fucking kidding me? You've been playing me for a fool, letting me believe I had a daughter when all along she was someone else's kid." I crossed my arms, meeting his gaze head-on. "And how does it feel, Ethan, to know that the child you love, the one you've been fighting for, isn't really yours?" He recoiled as if I had slapped him. "How does it feel? It feels like my whole world has been turned upside down, like everything I thought I knew was a lie." I smiled, a cold, triumphant thing. "Welcome to my world, Ethan. That's how I felt when I found out you were cheating on me with Amber, when I realized that the man I loved, the one I had built a life with, was nothing but a liar and a cheater." He shook his head, his face twisted with rage. "So, what? This was all some kind of twisted revenge plot? You let me bond with Ella, let me love her, just so you could rip her away from me?" I shrugged, feeling a perverse sense of satisfaction. "You took everything from me, Ethan. My trust, my love, my dreams of a family. I wanted you to know what that felt like. To To have something you cherish more than anything, only to find out it was all a lie. He slammed his fist down on the counter, making me jump. You're sick, Paige. You're fucking sick. I'm going to take you to court, and I'm going to get custody of Ella. I don't care if she's not my blood. She's my daughter, and I won't let you poison her against me. I laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. You can try, Ethan, but who do you think the courts will believe? The devoted mother who has raised her child alone, or the cheating scumbag who abandoned his family for a younger woman? He took a step forward, his face inches from mine. I will destroy you, Paige. I will make you pay for what you've done. I met his gaze, unflinching. Bring it on, Ethan. I've already lost everything that mattered to me. What more can you take? He stared at me for a long moment, his eyes searching mine. Then, without another word, he turned and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. I sagged against the counter, my legs shaking. It was done. The truth was out, and there was no going back. I had played my final card, and now it was up to the courts to decide our fate. But even as fear and uncertainty swirled inside me, I felt a flicker of something else, something that felt strangely like hope. I had taken back my power, had made Ethan feel the same pain and betrayal he had inflicted on me. And no matter what happened next, I knew that I had won. Revenge, it turned out, was a dish best served cold, and I had just served Ethan the biggest helping of his life. The custody battle was a nightmare. Ethan threw everything he had at me, hiring the best lawyers money could buy, and dragging my name through the mud. He painted me as a liar and a manipulator, a woman so consumed by revenge that she would use her own child as a pawn. I fought back with everything I had, but it was an uphill battle. Ethan had the advantage of money and influence, and he wasn't afraid to use it. He even stooped so low as to bring up my history of depression, trying to paint me as an unfit mother. Through it all, Amber was by his side, smirking and preening like the cat that got the cream. She would show up to court in tight dresses and sky-high heels, clinging to Ethan's arm like a trophy wife. It made me sick to see her, to know that she was the reason my family had been torn apart. The day of the final hearing, I was a wreck. I had barely slept in weeks, and my nerves were frayed to the breaking point. As I sat in the courtroom, waiting for the judge to make his ruling, I felt like I was going to pass out. Ethan and Amber sat across from me, looking smug and self-assured. They had no idea what was coming. The judge cleared his throat, looking down at his notes. After careful consideration of all the evidence presented, I have come to a decision regarding the custody of Ella Miller. I held my breath, my heart pounding in my chest. While I believe that both parents love Ella and want what's best for her, I cannot ignore the fact that Ms. Miller deliberately deceived Mr. Miller about the child's paternity. This deception, coupled with the acrimonious nature of the divorce proceedings, leads me to believe that joint custody would not be in Ella's best interests. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. This couldn't be happening. Therefore, I am awarding sole legal and physical custody to Mr. Miller, with supervised visitation for Miss Miller every other weekend. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Ethan and Amber were hugging and crying, while I sat there in shock, unable to believe what I was hearing. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Amber stood up, a triumphant smile on her face. "Your Honor, if I may," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I have some information that I believe the court should be aware of." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Go on, Miss Richards." Amber reached into her purse and pulled out a stack of papers. "These are medical records proving that I am pregnant with Ethan's child. We conceived shortly after he and Paige separated, and we plan to raise the baby together as a family." I felt like I was going to be sick. This couldn't be happening. Not only had Ethan taken Ella from me, but now he was starting a new family with Amber. But then, as I watched Amber hand the papers to the judge, I noticed something strange. The dates on the records didn't match up. According to the paperwork, Amber had gotten pregnant before Ethan and I had even separated. I stood up, my voice shaking with rage. "Your Honor, those records are fake. Amber is lying." The judge looked up, his brow furrowed. "Miss Miller, do you have any evidence to support this claim?" I nodded, pulling out my own stack of papers. "I have a copy of Amber's medical records from her OB-GYN. They show that she was pregnant before Ethan and I even separated. The baby isn't his." Amber's face went white. Ethan turned to her, his eyes wide with shock and betrayal. "Is this true?" he demanded, his voice shaking. "Did you lie to me about the baby?" Amber opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. The truth was written all over her face. The judge banged his gavel, his face dark with anger. "In light of this new evidence, I am reversing my decision. Sole custody will be awarded to Miss Miller, with supervised visitation for Mr. Miller. And as for you, Miss Richards, I am referring this matter to the district attorney for investigation into fraud and perjury." As the bailiff led a sobbing Amber out of the courtroom, I felt a rush of vindication. I had won. Ella was mine, and Ethan had been exposed for the lying, cheating scumbag he was. But even as I hugged my daughter close, I knew that the battle was far from over. Ethan would never give up, never stop trying to take Ella from me, and I would never stop fighting to keep her safe. Revenge may have been sweet, but the war was far from won. The years passed in a blur of court dates and custody hearings. Ethan fought me every step of the way, trying to chip away at my time with Ella, but I held firm, refusing to let him win. As Ella grew older, she started to ask questions. Why didn't she look like her daddy? Why did Mommy and Daddy fight all the time? I did my best to shield her from the truth, but I knew that someday she would have to know. That day came sooner than I expected. Ella was 8 years old, and we were at the park when she asked me point blank why she didn't look like Ethan. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Ella, honey, there's something I need to tell you. Ethan, he's not your real daddy." Her eyes went wide with shock. "What do you mean? He's always been my daddy." I shook my head, feeling a rush of guilt and shame. "I know, baby. But the truth is, I used a donor to have you. Ethan and I were having trouble getting pregnant, and I wanted a baby so badly, so I went to a clinic and got inseminated." Ella was quiet for a long moment, her little face scrunched up in confusion. "So, Ethan's not my real daddy, but he loves me like a real daddy." I nodded, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "He does, baby, and that's what matters. Love is what makes a family, not blood." Ella seemed to accept this, but I knew that the conversation was far from over. As she got older, she started to ask more questions. Why had I lied to Ethan? Why had I used a donor instead of just telling him the truth? I did my best to explain, but the truth was there was no good explanation. I had been selfish and short-sighted, so consumed by my desire for revenge that I hadn't thought about the long-term consequences. And then, when Ella was 12, the bombshell dropped. Amber, who had been in and out of rehab for years, finally hit rock bottom. In a desperate attempt to get clean, she wrote a tell-all book about her affair with Ethan and the fake pregnancy that had almost won him custody of Ella. The book was a sensation, and suddenly, our private drama was splashed across every tabloid in the country. Ethan was painted as a villain, a lying, cheating scumbag who had used his wealth and influence to try to steal a child that wasn't his. I watched in horror as he was dragged through the mud, his reputation in tatters. He lost his job, his friends, even his own family. Overnight, he went from being a respected businessman to a pariah. Part of me felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. After all, this was what I had wanted, wasn't it? To see Ethan suffer the way I had suffered? But as I watched him spiral deeper and deeper into despair, I realized that revenge wasn't all it was cracked up to be. In the end, we had all lost. Ella had lost the only father she had ever known. Ethan had lost everything he had ever worked for, and I had lost my own sense of integrity and self-respect. The final blow came when Ethan tried to take his own life. He survived, but the damage was done. He was a broken man, a shell of his former self. I went to see him in the hospital, not knowing what to expect. When I walked into his room, he looked up at me with hollow, haunted eyes. "You win, Paige," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You got your revenge. I hope it was worth it." I shook my head, feeling a rush of shame and regret. "It wasn't, Ethan. I'm sorry. I never meant for things to go this far." He laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "Well, they did, and now we all have to live with the consequences." I left the hospital that day feeling like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I had gotten what I wanted, but at what cost? My own daughter barely spoke to me. My reputation was in ruins, and the man I had once loved was a broken shell of himself. Revenge, it turned out, was a double-edged sword. and in the end, it had cut us all to the bone.